This is the video for Mod 7, Lesson 2, Finding Trigonometric Ratios. The goal of this section is really just building on what we did in the last section. We're going to identify our 6 ratios using a given ratio. This question tells you the sine of theta is 4/9, and our goal is to find the remaining ratios, trig ratios we would use here. So the key with these problems is you're going to have to draw a right triangle. I'm first going to draw a right triangle, making sure my right angle looks like a right angle, otherwise that kind of throws the problem off. And then identify an angle that isn't the right angle. I'm going to use the lower left-hand angle. You can use whichever angle you like. And they give us one of our ratios already. They tell us sine is 4/9. So I'm going to write 4/9. Right away, I know cosecant then would be 9/4. And then we want to think about with SOHCAHTOA. Well, what sine is a ratio of which two sides? It's a ratio of the opposite and the hypotenuse. So my opposite side would be, if it's 4/9, my opposite over hypotenuse, my opposite side would actually be 4. So that's my opposite, my hypotenuse, my adjacent. And my hypotenuse would be 9. So I'm treating it like a 4 and a 9, because when it reduced, it will reduce to 4 and 9. Then what happens is I want to find the remaining ratios. I don't know what my adjacent side is, so we're going to have to do Pythagorean theorem. So I already know what the hypotenuse is. It's 9. So if I go ahead and do Pythagorean theorem, we'll put 9 on a side by itself. When we go through and solve this, we're going to subtract 16. I'm going to get 65. I'm going to leave it as the square root of 65 because I can't simplify that any further. And now we're going to go ahead and fill in the rest of our ratios. So my cosine would be root 65/9. That means secant will be 9/√65. And I might have to rationalize that. And then tangent would be 4/√65. And then the reciprocal cotangent would be √65/4. We then find that anything, again, with a radical has to be rationalized. So I have to rationalize tangent and secant. And it just so happens that, those are the two we had to do in the other video, which is fine. And I'm going to multiply by radical 65. So secant will be 9√65/65. And then tangent would be, when I rationalize, would be 4√65/65. And then that would be it. In the second example, it's very similar. So again, they tell you cotangent is 2/3. Right away, then I know tangent is the reciprocal, so that's 3/2. And then now we're going to go ahead and draw a right triangle. So I have a right triangle here. I'm calling this theta. This is my hypotenuse. This is my opposite. This is my adjacent. And you can use that cotangent is adjacent over opposite, or if you know that if you're more comfortable knowing tangent is opposite over adjacent, either one would help you get that the opposite is 3 and the adjacent is 2. We then have to do the same thing. We're going to find our hypotenuse this time. So I'm going to do 2 squared plus 3 squared is x squared. We get 13, and then we're going to take the square root, and we get radical 13. And then now we're going to go ahead and write all of our ratios. So sine is going to be 3 over opposite over hypotenuse. So 3 over radical 13. Cosecant will be the reciprocal, so root 13 over 3. Cosine will be 2 over radical 13. And then secant will be the reciprocal, root 13 over 2. And then finally, I'm going to check which ones I have to rationalize. And we have to rationalize sine and cosine. So when I rationalize these out, we would get 3 root 13 over 13. And 2 root 13 over 13. And those would be my final answers. If you have questions from the notes, please make sure you're asking questions in class, during T-Bolt time, or in the center. You do need to complete the U-tries to receive full points for these video notes. So when these are checked in class, you do need to make sure you have your U-tries completed to receive full points. So again, the remaining problems from this section need to be completed, even if they're not perfect. We need to see that you're trying the steps out before you come to class so you're ready to ask questions. All right, thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.